today's video, we're going to factor out polynomials using common monomial factor. Let's start. Suppose that we have ax plus ay. To factor it out, we need to think of a monomial in which each term can be factored out. So, tingnan mo daw yung given polynomial mo. So, we have a binomial because it only has two terms. So, ano daw yung pareha silang pwedeng i-divide? So, since both terms have a, so pareha silang madidivide sa a. So, yung a ay tinatawag na common monomial factor. Write its factored form. So, first, yung naging common monomial factor mo na si a, yung, yung term kung saan parehas na di-divide, yung bawat terms sa polynomial mo, and then, magkakaroon tayo ng other factor. So, para mahanap mo tong si other factor, i-divide mo yung bawat term sa polynomial doon sa common monomial factor mo. So, ax divided by a, natira si x. Then, ay divided by a, natira si y. So, since positive divided by positive, kaya positive din yung naging sign dito. Okay? So, to discuss further, let us have our first example. Find the factors of 18m cubed n to the fourth p minus 12mn squared. Anong polynomial po ba yung given natin? So, since we have two terms, this is the first term and this is the second term, it is a polynomial that is called binomial. Okay? So, how are we going to factor it out? So, look at the numerical coefficient of each term, 18 and 12. Do they have common factor? Meron bang number na parehas na divide sa 18 at sa 12? And then, on their variables, meron ba silang common letters or variables sa bawat term? So, kung meron, ibig sabihin, yung given nating binomial ay mapa-factor using common monomial factor. Okay? So, we have 4 steps to do that. The first one is to find the GCF of the numerical coefficient. Ang numerical coefficient natin ay yung number na nasa unahan ng variables, meaning sila yung numbers na nakamultiply dun sa variables natin. So, we have, okay, ayan po ulit yung given natin, highlighting our numerical coefficients. So, we have 18, and the prime factors of 18 are 2, 3, and 3. And then on 12, its prime factors are 2, 2, and 3. So to find the GCF, let us find the common factors. Yung parehas na factor nilang dalawa. Parehas na number na makikita mo sa kanilang dalawa. So we have 2 and we have 3. So natira na lang kay 18 ay si 3, natira kay 12 ay si 2, so wala nang parehas. Therefore, the GCF of 18 and 12 is 2 times 3, and that is equal to 6. Then, let's proceed to step 2, which is finding the GCF of the variables. To do that, inspect your given. Is there common variables on each term? Meron daw bang letter na parehas meron sila? As we can see, parehas silang may M and parehas silang may N. So to find the GCF of the variables, we're going to get the common letter or variable with the least exponent. So between here, m cubed and m, the one with the least exponent o yung merong mas maliit na exponent, ito yung si m kasi ang exponent nito ay invisible 1. Okay? So since n is also common to them, the one with the least exponent is n squared kasi 2 lang to and ito ay 4. Is there any other common variable? Wala na po kasi ito ay may p, dito naman ay walang p. So therefore, the GCF of our variables is mn squared. Now, for step 3, you just need to find the product of the GCF of your numerical coefficient and the GCF of your variable. So, to do that, let us multiply 6 times mn squared, and that will give us 6mn squared. Okay, So parang pinagsama lang natin yung GCF sa coefficient at dun sa variable. And then for the last step, determine the other factor by dividing the polynomial to the common monomial factor. This is our common monomial factor. Yung naging product ng GCF ng coefficient and GCF ng variable. So, i-divide down natin itong given natin na to, yung given binomial natin, dun sa na-compute natin CMF para mahanap natin yung other factor. So, let us rewrite our given. And then this is our CMF. So to find the other factor, let us divide each term by the CMF. So let's start with the numerical coefficient and then by the variables. So 18 divided by 6, that will give us 3 m cubed divided by m. To do that, we will apply the law of exponent. So, dapat daw po, ima-minus natin yung exponent nila. So, 3 ang exponent dito ay invisible 1. So, 3 minus 1. So, doon sa quotient ng m natin, ang magiging exponent niya ay 2. So, that will be m squared. Okay? So, dito, n to the fourth divided by n squared. So, minus ulit natin yung exponent nila. So, that will give us n squared. So, p divided by 1, kasi wala naman na dito. So, invisible 1 yun. Parang bring down p na lang po. Okay? So, we are done dividing the first term by the CMF. Let us proceed to the second term. Negative 12 divided by 6, that will give us negative 2. M divided by M. So, ang exponent dito ay invisible 1. Dito rin ay invisible 1. So, sabi natin, ima-minus sila. So, 1 minus 1, that will give us M raised to 0. And any number or variable that is raised to 0, that will be equal to 1. So, in short, para lang natin ika-cancel out si M. So, wala na. Kasi 1 na lang yun. Diba? Kasi kahit i-multiply natin kay negative 2, si 1, negative 2 pa rin yung magiging sagot. Kaya parang kinancel lang natin. So, as here, n squared divided by n squared, pareha sila ng exponent. Pag minus yun, magiging 0. That will be equal to 1. And negative 2 times 1 is still negative 2. So, therefore, our other factor is 3m squared n squared p minus 2. So, thus, the factor of 18m cubed n to the fourth p minus 12mn squared, which is our given earlier, or 6mn squared, ito yung CMF natin, ito yun, times 3m squared n squared p minus 2, ayun yung other factor natin. Okay? Now, you want to check if you got the correct factors. How are we going to do that? Okay? So, yung nagkuha nating factors kanina, let's just multiply them. And if the product will be the same with our given binomial, ibig sabihin, tama yung factors natin. So, let's see. So, 6mn squared times the quantity of 3m squared n squared p minus 2. So, to do that, we will apply distributive property. So, yung CMF, i-multiply muna natin sa first term. So, 6 times 3, that is 18. M times m squared, law of exponent naman, dito pag nagmumultiply, in-add naman natin yung exponent nila. So, invisible 1 plus 2, that is 3. So, m cubed na po. Here, n squared times n squared, that will be n to the fourth, and 1 times p, that is p. Okay, so we are done multiplying the CMF to the first term. So let us proceed to the second term. So here, our second term is just a constant. So, meaning, i-multiply lang natin tong number dito sa coefficient na to. And then, bring down na lang natin yung variable. So, 6 times 2, negative 2, rather, that will give us negative 12, and then bring down si mn squared. So, dahil yung product natin ay parehas dun sa given natin kanina, ibig sabihin, tama tong factors na na-solve natin. Okay? Let's have another example. Let's try to factor out 35w to the fifth z cubed minus 21w squared z to the seventh minus 14w to the 6th z to the 9th power. Okay? Again, to factor it out using common monomial factor, first, we need to find the GCF of the numerical coefficients. Okay? So this is our given. So these are the numerical coefficients. So 35, we have 5 times 7, and 21, we have 3 times 7, and 14 is 2 times 7. So to find the GCF, meron bang number na parehas nilang factor or number na parehas silang nade-divide? Meron po, pare-parehas silang may 7. So therefore, the GCF of 35, 21, and 14 is 7. Step 2, let us find the GCF of the variables. So again, this is our given, and these are the variables on each term. So they all have W and Z. Okay, so again, to find the GCF of the variables, we need to get the common variable o yung letter na pare-pareha sa kanila with the least exponent, yung pinakamaliit na exponent. So, kay W, ang pinakamaliit na exponent ay yung 2. Kay Z, ang pinakamaliit na exponent ay yung 3. So therefore, the GCF of the variables is W squared Z cubed. Okay? So for step 3, i-multiply lang daw natin itong GCF ng coefficient sa GCF ng variables para makuha ang ating common monomial factor. So 7 times W squared Z cubed, that will give us 7W squared Z cubed. Parang pinagsama lang natin sila. And this is our common monomial factor. Okay? So, isosolve pa natin yung other factor natin. To do that, let us proceed to step 4. To determine the other factor, we need to divide the given polynomial to the CMF. Okay? So, this is our given. This is our CMF. So let us divide each term of our polynomial to the common monomial factor. So 35 divided by 7 is 5. W to the 5th power divided by W squared. So minus yung exponent, that is W cubed. Z cubed divided by Z cubed, sabi natin kanina, parang makakancel na lang sila kasi kapag in-apply natin yung law of exponent, pag minus yung exponents nila, magiging 0 yung exponent. So, kapag 0 ang exponent, equal yan sa 1. Diba? So, proceed na tayo dito. So, negative 21 divided by 7 is negative 3. W squared divided by W squared, o parehas na naman sila. So, cancel po ulit kasi magiging equal yan sa 1. Z raised to 7th power divided by Z cubed. So, minus, that is Z to the 4th. And then on our last term, negative 14 divided by 7 is negative 2. W to the 6th power divided by W squared is W to the 4th. And Z raised to 9 power divided by Z cubed, that is Z to the 6th. Meaning, ito na yung other factor natin. Okay? Kasi diba sabi natin kanina, nung umpisa, ang factored form ng common monomial factor ay yung CMF times dun sa other factors. So, this time, ito yung CMF, ito yung other factor natin. So, the factors of 35, W to the 5th, Z cubed minus 21, W squared, Z to the 7th, minus 14W to the 6th, Z to the 9th, are 7W squared, Z cubed, times 5, W cubed minus 3, Z to the 4th minus 2, W to the 4th, Z to the 6th. So again, to check if these factors are correct, we need to multiply them. And if we arrive to the same value as our given, therefore the factors are correct. So let us see. By distributive property, CMF multiply to the first term. So 7 times 5 is 35. W squared times W cubed is W to the fifth. Z cubed times 1 is Z cubed. So, parang bring down lang siya. Then, 7 times negative 3 is negative 21. So, since walang W dito, parang bring down lang siya. Z cubed times Z to the 4th, Z to the 7th power. So, third term, 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. W squared times W to the 4th is W to the 6th. Z cubed times Z to the 6th power is Z raised to 9. So, since ang product ng factors ay the same dun sa given natin, ibig sabihin, tama ang nakuha nating factors. Good job, guys! So again, let us recall what are the steps do we do in factoring polynomials using the common monomial factor. So step 1 is to find the GCF of the numerical coefficients. Step 2 is to find the GCF of the literal coefficients or the variables. Step 3, get the product of the common monomial factor of the numerical and literal coefficients. Step 4, determine the second factor or the other factor by dividing the polynomial to the common monomial factor.
I hope may natutunan kayo sa short video natin na to. Until next time, thank you for watching!